July 21st, 2021, 10 months since the release of a nation in Genshin Impact, which in question was Liyue. After the unexpectedly long wait, a new nation was released titled Inazuma. My opinions on the nation itself vary greatly with the sheer fever dream of violence, but this video in question is covering the archon of the nation, the Raiden Shogun. Released roughly a year after the release of the aforementioned Liyue, she's a beloved character in the realm of gameplay, being viable to many different situations. Whether it's co-op, creating teams of your characters, or simply trying to get by in the most vanilla way possible, she's effective at what she does. So this raises the question of why this video is named the way it is. I'm not delusional, just trying to create some weird kind of immersion. To put it simply, she's an archon. Therefore, she has relevance to the storyline. Shocking, right? Gods are important. When it comes to all of the things needed to be important, she falls utterly short. Because of this, I'm going to go off, but not like a victim of forbidden knowledge. I'll try and supply a somewhat valid argument, and remember, this is my opinion. I haven't gone too deep into her content outside of Archon quests, so if you're upset due to that for any reason, you always have the option to leave. Let's go now. You could react as badly as the 4.4 Lantern Rat, or as well as a few more Primo Gems to fuel your addiction.
It casts a shadow. My name means shadow. With my blade, I purged all obstacles to progress. And yet, something was lost with each step forward. In the end, I even lost her.
As an Archon, Raiden naturally has incredible importance as an individual character, both to the story and herself, to detail I myself have a colourful cast of opinions on. On paper, a lot of her defining characteristics, even within the nation, sound fine, even good, yet I couldn't say the same for a lot of the execution. What you think of her of course depends on your personal preferences, experiences and opinions, but also to the level of depth you look into with her, accompanied by how exactly you go about it. As long as you aren't cooking crappy opinions like Raiden with her food, I don't think I'd have a right to dislike. However, if you want to know what I don't like specifically, look at the comments on my Archon video, please. During her backstory, it's the easiest to neglect this flaw, as backstories are typically more vague due to their role as, well, a backstory. I said that word a lot. They aren't in the moment nor easy to always remember, and it's wild. Much like how I generally recap the story of Inazuma, this backstory is told through recollections of many characters besides just Raiden. It means, like I said, the flaws aren't too noticeable yet, as there's not much to look deep into from a writing standpoint due to its secondary role as promotion as well. I like what is shown though overall. It exists to show both her perspective as well as a present constant, motif-like theme of shadows. She worked from the shadows while her twin sister was the face of the Archon system within Inazuma, and her story is a nice piece on growing up. The sudden nature of things within one's life, as well as the decent presentation of why she loves eternity oh so much. These will be covered within each section, so to begin with, let's talk about growing up. I think her whole story, even past the, well, past, is relevant to this topic as a whole. Boy, I hope I sound grown up. During the story teaser specifically though, we see her be required to go from a shadow to some higher being of sorts due to her circumstances of her sister dying, and I'd see this as a growing up. She matured, at least she thought she did, growing into a more cold perspective of the world around her. As annoying as it might be seeing her views shift towards what is most likely a worse estate, you can't get mad at an antagonist for being antagonistic, which is a major problem within the community of this game, whether it's the Chinese audience despising Scaramouche, people in general not liking Dottore, or, well, you get the point. People mix up writing with behaviour, and I want to explicitly state I believe she doesn't work from a writing standpoint. Anyway, this backstory does well at its job, showing us that fear of growing up that is so common within the modern world, making some of us wish that our youth was eternal, much like my ability to actually write entertaining scripts, if that was ever the case. Next is another thing that has become incredibly common within our society as a whole, having to do so fast and having to do so due to unexpected occurrences. Makoto, her twin sister, was not just expected to be killed. Or the Raiden Shogun clearly didn't expect it, and much like people in the real world, built up walls in order for her to never be caught off guard like that again. Mentally, I mean. There's like zero defense around Inazuma unless you count the god-awful thunderstorms. It's smooth sailing so far, and I don't think this changes with the last thing, eternity. It's perfectly logical why she's so in love with the idea of it, and why she relies on it so much. She's seen firsthand what it's like to break it, as she's ended other creatures' lives in order to protect her nations, as well as watching her dear sister die in her arms. Things begin and end, and it's just too much for her to handle. I like the creature thing as she describes it as something being lost with each step forward, which isn't entirely untrue. It's how life works. As you make new memories, older ones fade out, especially in somewhat later years too. Every time you grow, you lose a part of who you used to be. A sprout never looks like a fully grown flower, or something like that. Where the hell am I going with these analogies, bro? I don't think whatever's going on in this story tease is far off, and it means A associates progress with, well, the opposite. Whether it's due to lack of trust or faith in herself is irrelevant though. Her character is honestly really well handled throughout the story teaser itself, which makes me feel all the more disappointed when we get to the main problems. How she's handled in game. I'm really salty about this. I literally dissed her so hard when I finished the first encounter with her during Act 2. That was 3 years ago, or 2, whatever. Raiden's so damn annoying in the actual game, man. I'm about to yap so much, but I'll try and at least be slightly convincing. From before you even get there, you hear things about how no electrovisions have been granted since the beginning of the Vision Hunt Decree, or how the Raiden Shogun has closed the borders of Inazuma. Quite frankly, I imagined some sick looking purple samurai when I heard this, but I guess I won't complain about appearances. Though, like, for real, I imagine the Eternal Knight from Fortnite. She looks fine anyway, mature, quiet, and dangerous. They should really give her armor as a usable skin though. But whatever, video's not about that I think. She lives up quite well to her intimidating facade. Like, seeing the things she's done in Act 1 is quite exciting, especially when it's in a game that's been so vibrant. The only gloomy areas in this game that existed back then were Dragonspine and Stormterror's lair. Suddenly you've got this archipelago of islands that are tragic, calm and beautiful, much like Raiden herself. Bro's literally become a rock, kinda like Zhongli. What I like about it all is you know how she caused all of it. Like, the worst part about her is how good she seemed. It's the hype behind her, man. I felt excited seeing how she created such a unique environment for what we're used to within Genshin, and that scene in Act 2 really helps pay it off. I wouldn't be the first to say Act 1 is slow, but seeing this scene where the Vision Hunt Decree and the Archon are both in action is still one of the best within the whole game. She's not your friend, nor will she ever be, it seems, but it's Genshin. We literally see yapping hilly trolls in commissions and help out fat Fatui people in the chasm. What the heck would you expect, to be honest? I'll ignore how much I hyped myself up for it, but like, damn, it was cool. I rewatched that cutscene at least 3 times on YouTube that night, and you know for a fact I went down a cutscene rabbit hole and got spoiled to nothing short of an uncomfortable degree. So, like I said in the previous section, why am I praising her so much? Ignore the fact I answered the question like 3 times already since I need to segue into the complaining part. I know you've been waiting for your daily echo chamber, or maybe you want to tear me to shreds. Either way, here we go. Raiden is really immature. I get there's a reason for it. Like, my friend explained her incapability to understand emotions. I typed emoji the first time for some reason, but I still don't like how she's handled. It falls into a trope and also makes zero sense from a relative standpoint. Let's begin with a trope. In Genshin, and honestly a lot of anime-styled media, characters that aren't human, like, don't understand humans. They're kinda goofy like that, built different, you know? Raiden is a pretty clear example of this, not understanding her citizens less than the average Genshin player's father. No offense my people, we're in this together. She's all about it being a justification, and the trope only worsens within her story quests, though we can ignore it for now, because that comes later. You may think it still serves as a justification regardless of the trope's overuse, but then look at Zhongli. Zhongli's in the same boat, arguably worse, being a menace in his backstory. This dude was not only black-pilled, but was what every gym bro aspires to be. Dude destroyed everybody and everything. The important part is, though, it was worse than what Raiden did. On top of that, he didn't understand humans either, and was even in a similar set of circumstances, beyond just his attitude or understanding. They both lost somebody close to them despite having a group of friends. Zhongli suspected lover Gui Zhong and Raiden's sister Makoto. They both handled the opposing responsibilities of an Archon as well. The difference is how they handled it, and it really annoys me. There might be details, but Raiden was a grumpy baby who decided to screw over a whole nation over it, while Zhongli went about it the right way. I guess people handle things differently, but I just wish there was some more appeal to Raiden within the Archon quests. It's hard to empathize when she's so soulless in reality, and it's like her story quests forget that, though, like I said, for later. Let's move to Act 3, which is my second favourite finale of the nation. I like the finale, but Raiden's motivations are always what annoys me. Her actions are fine, but her reasons paired with the awful pacing of the story just makes me irritated. She did it all because of her paranoia and anxieties effectively, and the fact things you assumed she didn't even know ended up being of her knowledge makes me even more annoyed. The awareness of the Fatui's involvement, soulless execution of Signora, and pure disregard for her people all ruin her for me. She just lacks maturity, and even I don't despise Venti for that. There's just something unintentional about Raiden. It feels like they expected her to be more mature, especially with how her story quest is handled. Like with Venti, they intentionally made him childish and it felt like a character flaw, yet with Raiden it felt like a writing flaw. I mean, Venti drinks crazy amounts of alcohol, so he's nothing close to a child. Let's be for real, guys. I think I've gotten my point across though. I like the finale like I said, but her justifications for what she does are nothing short of stupid in my opinion. Her infatuation with eternity, themes of growing up, and more are the direct motivations for her actions by the way. It's disappointing how she's built up to be more well written than she actually is. I hope I got my point across. Think I'm done with all this, so it might be time for the second last section, the story quests. There's two, and I'll try to put my back into researching them effectively enough to justify my opinions, though I'll probably still be pretty vague.
Remember to focus constantly on your heartfelt wishes when you enter inside. Only if you are strong enough can I deliver you to the right destination.
Raiden Shogun is one of the characters that has 2 acts instead of 1 for their story quest. Because of this, there's a decent amount of stuff to go through. Let's begin. Act 1 follows a very generic storyline about, I believe, the Kujo Commission's heir, and Raiden's disapproval of such a thing. She eventually duels him, and while she doesn't find him as a good fit, she does however say that he embodies honor, the main trait of the aforementioned commission. It might be confusing why I'm mentioning this, but it shows, to some extent, compromise. Compromises to her are the enemy of eternity, and it makes sense. It's like the equivalents of mutations in a species. They happen occasionally, but can push for a change that leads to something bigger. I just wanted to mention that as it shows development in a character, thankfully enough. Alright, moving on to Act 2. Let's go people. Keep in mind this will be as brief as an unusual hilly show like I said. Don't want you guys expecting too much from this section. Now I've researched Act 2 to a level I'm quite satisfied with, and I have to say it is a pretty good ending. It redeems A in a believable way, using the katana planted in the sacred sakura, it being thematically fitting due to the leyline overflowing, memory recovery and more. It feels like a proper ending, spending a long period of time in order to prove herself to a puppet, which is ironic considering her infatuation with eternity. It was in no way sudden, nor did it feel like she wasn't growing up to a satisfying degree. She wasn't even afraid to grow up this time, and it was for the better. But like I said, I just love how this is all executed through time. Poetic how it goes, but I still have a problem with the writing. She doesn't work after all. I claimed that earlier and I'm committing to it. She has a decent character arc. The beginning and end is good, but how she behaves within Acts 2 and 3 of the Inazuma chapter just ruins it. You might think a character is saved by the Imperatrix in Brosa chapter Act 2, but the fact an Archon quest character needs their story quest is kinda pathetic. Like pigeons. I hate it because other Archons don't require this type of development to be tolerable. Nahida had 2 acts for her story quests, but was still an incredibly enjoyable character within the main quests. Don't tell me that Raiden being an antagonist is why either, since my favourite character is a child and Scaramouche respectively. That's my argument. I just don't think Raiden really works. She spends her main runtime having a tantrum, and the story quests aren't even main content. On top of that, only Act 2 really contributes properly, as Act 1 sounds like big filler. Just don't end your story off with optional content, yeah? It's like how you shouldn't end your story within the DLC. Kinda goofy.
New to the world and yet to be known. When to plant it, where it shall bloom. She who brings it into being must let her heart and dreams decide. Grant it life, eh? Is it really?
That's it for the video. Still adjusting the writing scripts and everything, so it could be lackluster, but I hope you enjoyed it. I don't like Raiden, but Act 2 of the story quests do sound cool, no cap. Anyway, I'm gonna head now. Like, subscribe, join the membership, and don't flame me in the comments regardless if I did a mediocre job. Please, criticism hurts my young little soul.
The clutches of the heavenly principles. Now the nightmare has dissipated, and reality is made whole. The vision we both yearn for is still further ahead. My only regret is that I cannot witness Inazuma's future, nor can I walk this journey with you.